Well, second video for the day. I guess I'll throw this in my vlog. Something interesting about the irascible and the concupiscible appetites. Plato's allegory of the chariot. Plato, who lived in the 4th century BC, Plato wrote, was it the Phaedrus or the Phaedo? I think it's the Phaedrus. He writes about the chariot allegory of the soul. Plato says that the soul is like a chariot, and there are two horses. The two horses are very different. One is epithumia in Greek, which is, sorry about the noise, I'm outside. Epithumia in Greek is the concupiscible appetite that Aristotle would talk about in his Nicomachean Ethics. The concupiscible appetite it's part of the irrational soul or lower soul that is tied to passions of the body. The concupiscible appetite desires food and sex and pleasure and like laziness, and wants to sit and eat and not feel like doing anything, and wine and sex and those types of pleasures. You could say that addiction to drugs, addiction is basically we're being taken over. We're the charioteer, right? That horse is running wild and it's not under control. The other horse is the irascible appetite, or thumos. It is that desire to rise up and conquer, to rise against obstacles, to burst through them, to attain greatness, to do great things, to rise up against tyranny, that to overcome. It's a fiery impulse. But also part of that appetite or horse is anger, wrath, rage, probably impatience, but being short-tempered. So, many spiritual systems, they talk about uprooting greed, uprooting desire. But it's interesting, Plato doesn't tell us to kill the horses. They could feed and graze. But we need to be in control of the two horses. The charioteer is logos. And of course, these could be tied to the cardinal virtues. Temperance to epithumia, fortitude or courage to thumos, wisdom to logos, and you could say that justice is the proper proportion of the others. But this, we see the chariot card. It's very interesting. The chariot card in tarot has a rider with two horses in many decks. But in our modern spirituality, especially those of us not tied to a tradition, where we read books and we focus on metaphysical topics or occultism, we need to, there's this idea of controlling the two horses, gaining control of the two horses, to get control of the irrational soul by the higher soul. The liberation of will. Our will isn't just desires. Many religions and spiritualities talk about fleshly desires and things. And many of us that leave Christianity, for example, we tend to view this idea as bad, but really it's found in many spiritual systems. The idea isn't killing the horses or feeling guilt, but just gaining self-control, being self-governing. So it's the liberation of the will, the true will, so that we can drive the chariot and attain great things, and also spiritual elevation. But it's the paradox of liberty by restriction. Liberty by restriction, and by that I mean discipline. Now, I don't pretend to be some super disciplined person, but I do strive. and I think it's important spiritually. And so this is the second video tonight. I just made a video on Levi, and then I have this video, so that's 2 videos tonight. So I just want to share some ideas. You know, I've been thinking a lot about the concupiscible and irascible appetites, the 2 horses. Check out Plato's. A lot of people are familiar with the cave allegory, the allegory of the cave. Well, check out the chariot allegory, and go take another look at the chariot card. Am I saying one came from the other? Not necessarily. It's interesting, though. So, it's interesting to think of ourselves as a charioteer. Yeah. Governing the horses. Discipline. It's not self-denial which liberates the true self. Separation. Separate the subtle from the gross. You know, yeah, it's interesting. The upright pentagram. Yeah, the chariot. These symbols are important to think about. They teach us things more than just words and books. Images, symbols. There's a reason symbols and images. And what is mythology but the use of various imagery? Imagery is important. It helps us to learn in ways that just simple words don't. In fact, I'm expounding a symbol. It's interesting. I think that symbols grab hold of the consciousness. And I think that it's good for us to grasp this symbol of the chariot, allegory of the soul. So it's fascinating. And it ties into Levi because, you know, Levi kind of talks about these things, some of them. But alright, so that's second video for tonight. Quick video for y'all. Thank you for joining me. My God, this camera is close. Alright, y'all. And thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.